Hey guys, I'm George, the nice medic gentleman. It's time for your daily dose of some fragrance content, and today I'll be talking about redundant clone fragrances. In other words, clones that you don't really need to own because there are better alternatives out there. And I'm also going to show you those better alternatives today. Now keep in mind that none of the redundant clone fragrances that I'm going to be talking about today are not bad scents on their own. I simply believe that there are better alternatives out there. In some cases that I'm going to show you today, both fragrances will, the redundant one and the one that's actually the better one to own, will come from the same manufacturer. In other examples, they'll be from two different manufacturers. And I'm going to start with two fragrances, a redundant one and the one that I believe is the better one, the one to own. Both of them are coming from the same brand. The brand is called Hadlash and the line of fragrances are called Infini now. This is the Infini one and the other one is the Infini Absolute. Now both of them, they look very similar to each other and they actually smell similar to each other. In both cases we're talking about clones of Creed Aventus. The differences here, the one that I believe is the redundant one is the OG Infini. Now it's a very nice little inexpensive clone of Creed Aventus. Actually, this is probably the most inexpensive clone of Creed Aventus that I have in my collection, and on its own this actually smells quite nice. It has decent quality, decent performance, it has the versatile factor of the original scent, and it's very inexpensive. But for a little more money, if you have to pay a little bit more in the case of Infini Absolute, this actually is the better fragrance. It smells a little bit different. I would say that this has a little bit of a twist. It's a little bit more fruity than the OG Creed Aventus, but it offers better quality, it offers better performance, and all around it just simply offers the better experience out of the two, and that's for like a few dollars on top of the price of what you have to pay for the OG Infini. Around here, Infini, the OG Infini costs around about 13 to 14 euros, whilst the Infini Absolute Flanker costs around about 20-25 euros. So you have to pay 5 to 10 euros, or around about $10-12 more. But I do think that it's worth it because again, you get better quality, you get better performance, and just overall better experience. So the redundant clone in this case is the OG Infini, and I would say the better alternative in this case is Infini Absolute. Now one more example of a redundant clone, simply because there's a better option from the very same brand, will be from the brand of Latafa, and the examples includes Al Nashama and Vintage Radio. Now both fragrances of course are cloning Initio's Paragon. Both of them are actually quite nice. Both of them are almost identically priced at this point in time, and both of them smell very similar to the original fragrance from Initio. But I would say that in this case the better one, the one that smells a little bit closer to the original fragrance, the one that has slightly better performance, at least from my experience, the one that offers a slightly better quality, is Vintage Radio. So in this case I think Al Nashama is just feeling a little bit redundant, especially sitting next to Vintage Radio. Now again, both of them smell really nice. I like both of them. Both of them offer almost exactly the same quality, although Vintage Radio just feels a slightly higher quality. It's part of the Pride line, so it's supposed to be a little bit more expensive and just having overall a little bit higher quality. But the reality is that they feel almost exactly the same, but still, especially nowadays, because their pricing is pretty much identical, at least around here. They both cost around about 25 to 30 euros, so $35-40 in that price range. I would say that if you have the choice, you should definitely go with Vintage Radio, because I just do believe that this smells a little bit closer to the original fragrance and just offers slightly better performance and better quality. And the only reason why I would go with Al Nashama will be the fact if basically I cannot get my hands on a bottle of Vintage Radio, or if Vintage Radio is a lot more expensive than Al Nashama. But if they are similarly priced, if you can get both of them, I would definitely say that the one to get is Vintage Radio, and Al Nashama, excuse me, in this case just feels a little bit redundant. Continuing on with the theme of redundant to own fragrances, redundant to own clones, because they're better options from the very same manufacturer, very same brand. Next I'm going to give you a few examples from the brand of a fragrance world. The first example is Just As Rock and Invictus Victorious Elixir. Both of them are clones of Paco Rabanne's Invictus Victory Elixir. Now, Invictus Victorious Elixir was the first clone to come out from Fragrance World of the original scent, and then a little bit later on, I think Just As Rock got released as well. And the reality is that both of them smell very similar to Invictus Victory Elixir, but for me, Invictus Victorious Elixir is the better clone. It's the one that will get you closer to the original fragrance and just the one that feels like having slightly higher quality. Just in this case, quality is pretty much on par, but Just As Rock is more like a hybrid clone because it smells quite a bit like Invictus Victory Elixir, but also has a bit of the Le Beau sort of a vibe to it in the opening, because this has quite a strong coconut note in the opening, but on the dry down actually gets very close to Invictus Victory Elixir. Now, I would go with, if I have to choose one, I would go with Invictus Victorious Elixir, because again, it's just a bit more clear on what it's actually trying to do. It doesn't go for a hybrid cloning or anything like that, and I think this is simply the slightly better fragrance. So that's why I think Just As Rock feels a little bit redundant. But if you like the note of coconut and if you don't mind having a bit of a coconut vibe to your Paco Rabanne's Invictus Victory Elixir, then maybe you should go with this one. But still, in my opinion, the one that feels redundant in this case is Just As Rock. And just one more example of a redundant to own clone, simply because there's a better option from the very same brand, again from Fragrance World, will be about these two, Starman Nebula and Posh Malt, both of them again from Fragrance World. Now, both of them, of course, are cloning Mugler's Pure Malt, and both of them are actually quite nice. Starman Nebula, especially after some maceration, actually gets quite close to the original fragrance, but still, in my opinion, Posh Malt is the one clone to get if you're looking for a Pure Malt clone and if you're looking at the Fragrance World scents. I think it offers slightly better quality, definitely from my experience offers a little bit better performance, and also in my opinion smells a little bit closer to the original fragrance. Starman Nebula is a very nice inexpensive clone of Pure Malt, but again, the only reason why I would go with Starman Nebula over Posh Malt will be the only reason will be if Posh Malt is unavailable at your markets. If I have to choose between one of the two, I will go with Posh Malt definitely, because again, I think it offers a little bit better quality, it offers a little bit better performance, and definitely smells a little bit closer to the original one. So in this case, the redundant clone to own for me will be Starman Nebula, and the clone to get out of the two will be Posh Malt. And the last example of a redundant to own clone will actually be between two different manufacturers. In this case, the participants will be from Lattafa and from Fragrance World and French Avenue. And I'm talking about Art of Nature 2 from Lattafa and Liquid Brun from French Avenue. Of course, both fragrances are cloning none other than Parfum de Marly's Altair. Now, again, on their own, both fragrances smell really nice, but the redundant one to own in this case for me will be Art of Nature 2 from Lattafa. A few main reasons why that's the case. I think quality wise they're pretty much on par. Maybe there's just a slight edge on the side of French Avenue and Liquid Brun, but the quality difference isn't that big. Why this is better in my opinion is because it smells a little bit closer to the original fragrance, just tastes a little bit more true to the original scent. And the other reason is because Liquid Brun definitely, in my experience, has been the strongest, the stronger fragrance, the longer lasting fragrance, the one that projects better. And nowadays, I think they're pretty much equally priced. So you're looking at something around about the 40 to 50 euro mark, so about 50 to 60 dollars. And if I have to choose out of the two, if I have the option to get both, and if I have to choose just one simply because it's better, it smells better, it smells of slightly higher quality, it offers better performance, and all that taken into account, I definitely think that Liquid Brun is the one clone to get. Now, the only reason why I wouldn't go with Liquid Brun over Art of Nature 2 will be if Liquid Brun is unavailable at my markets, or if the price difference is let's say something like 10 to 15 euros more in favor of Art of Nature 2. But if they're similarly priced, if you can get your hands on both of them, I would definitely say that the one to get will be Liquid Brun, and the redundant one is Lattafa's Art of Nature 2. So guys, in today's video I showed you 5 redundant clones to own because there are better options, better alternatives out there, and I showed you those better alternatives as well. I hope that you found this video interesting or helpful. If you did, give it a like, and I also hope that you're going to join me tomorrow for your daily dose of some fragrance content. And until then, stay safe and bye bye.